So have you gotten bored of the multi-shot meta? Because multi-shot's really, really good, ignoring how it works on beams, because on beams it's absolutely broken, and you wanted to use your secondaries more because for some reason they keep buffing secondaries to the point where secondaries are like extremely good. Well, I introduced to you the Scourge. This weapon is a 14-meter radius thrown javelin that attracts bullets to enemies' heads around 2 meters. It is absolutely insanely good with the Acuity mod for secondaries, and a ton of secondaries make a lot of use for it. So I've been using this a lot in Steel Path disruptions because that's the kind of person I am. I have my stuff bound strangely, right? So 14 meters, if I throw it here, he gets a bullet attractor on his head. You just hold click in their general direction and it deals a ton of damage. Obviously, I'm using Yareli, so if I started moving, it would be like +1 red crits. The most interesting thing about this is because it's forcing headshots, Acuity is just literally doing like millions of damage. I've been abusing it by changing my keybinds to scroll down to switch, up to alt fire, other than just making it way easier on me for doing all of that kind of stuff. This isn't even including the fact that I'm not using any stacks on this with like primary or secondary deadhead and the galvanized shot mod. I didn't even have a partner companion equipped. I'm going to equip Nautilus now because it'll be way easier to show this kind of stuff wherever he went. The Hellstrom. So instead of spawning in the Demolisher to do what I was doing, I'm going to spawn in a battle group, and we're going to walk up, have the Nautilus do what he does. Enemies in here will now be afflicted by the headshot buff, and then just hold. And you just kill everything. Obviously, this only mainly works if you are headshotting or having the galvanized effects. Because we're not using multi-shot, we're using Acuity, and we're abusing the critical damage buff. I'm using the Diplos, but this works on like pretty much any pistol I found. I've been using it on the Diplos. The Nell is obviously a really good choice, mainly because it is a critical demon in and of itself. If you want to do the Haro cosplay of just spam headshotting every enemy. Obviously, anything to give like viral stacks or galvanized stacks are really good. But honestly, I got really bored of using primaries, and I wanted to use something relatively interesting, so I decided to pick up the Scourge because I knew it had a bullet attractor. It is 14 meters for like 2 or 3 seconds, depending on if you like self-stagger or whatever. It also has guaranteed corrosive on it. Like it just has corrosive base. So I built with like heat and viral because those are the obvious choices with some decent status. Unfortunately, Prime Firestorm does not work on this, which is a little irritating, but hey, we take what we're given. 14 meters is still a lot, especially when you're trying to delete most enemies in the game. But like, the Lex Prime, including the Incarnon, is really good. It just, you crit demon with this thing. Dual Torxica, those are really good. Some of the other pistols, I mean, I haven't tested all of them out because that would be hours and hours of work, but I did want to show one unique interaction with it because it's actually relatively interesting. Obviously, this is what I'm using for my build. However, I noticed, because I'm basically using this as a pocket seeker, I'm basically using this as a pocket magnetized bubble to circulate on enemies. If you do this with punch through, you can throw it, switch to your secondary, and these little dots that are darting around are the punch through projectiles because it's landing the headshot, but then it's proceeding to hit through it into other bubbles. Obviously, this isn't doing damage because I don't have my build on, and I'm also not triggering critical flow, but this actually deals tons and tons of damage, especially in like Steel Path level lobbies where a lot of enemies are going to be grouped up anyway, or you're going to be using hard CC. So you can just group them all up, and a simple burst of bullets will bounce between everybody's bullet attractor. It actually does increase the lifetime of the bullets a bit due to this, because instead of it just, it is directly targeting their head all of the time. So, with the fact that it can bounce between enemies, even a few shots are going to be hitting the maybe 1, 2, 3 more, depending on how much your punch through is. Scourge is insane. I haven't seen anybody talking about Acuity in a little while. I remember they got released and people were just like, well, they're like fine. Like, they're not bad mods. I even thought like, meh, they're not really anything impressive. I wish I was joking. I was on a rant about multi-shot and primaries when my OBS just crashed. So Big DE doesn't want you to hear about the Scourge tech. Everybody spread that. Big DE doesn't want you to know that you can just use Scourge, and you can use Scourge Prime even though it's vaulted. You can buy it for like 20 plat. People don't want you to know this. Anyway, Jesus, my whole setup just blew up for a second. I don't even remember the initial rant I had, but I was talking, I think I was talking about Acuity as a concept. As when it released, people were like, this can definitely be good, but I don't see the actual effect it's going to have. Personally, I think now that I've been playing with it, and now that I've been messing with Scourge specifically, I think Acuity is unironically a extremely strong like mod, and it kind of flows under the radar because of the classification. The thing that makes Acuity hard to really sink your teeth into is this weak point like classification. Having to hit a headshot, especially on Infested, which can be really difficult even for the Scourge, is difficult. And you're missing out on multi-shot, which in the current state of the game, I feel like multi-shot is one of those, you either build for it or you go build melee. But that's like a personal thing. That's just how multi-shot's been feeling. I mean, you even have like the cannonades, which reduce like you lock fire rate, but unfortunately only give additive damage as far as I'm aware. But this 350% weak point damage applying with, yes, that is additive, but it also applies with the 2.5 times or 2.5 times, depending on what weapon you're using, because we needed to incentivize headshots, does actually really help, especially for things like Deadhead, where you just get a massive multiplier anyway. I mean, Deadhead itself is pretty insane. You have a headshot multiplier. If I'm correct, this is multiplicative. I may be wrong. And the weapon recoil reduction, which can extremely help on things like the Diplos, the Twin Grokitas, if you decide to use those, and such. I will say this build really shines through with either weapon platform frames, or if you go, this is my Yareli build, this is my basic one anyway, where you use Arcane Velocity, which 90% chance on a critical hit for 120% fire rate, massively good Arcane, and a maxed out Pistolier, which on headshot kills, which are guaranteed, 60% chance for 102% ammo efficiency. It makes it just, you can mag dump some things. So without for context, my Twin Grokitas, I aim, they're empty. Let us throw these enemies on here. We'll do Scourge, aim. I know it's really hard to see through Yareli. Sorry, but you just mag dump. This is also partially because the arcanes are really good. So, and that's even without, like, this is a negative 136% critical chance Riven. So I have a 9 critical chance while moving on Yareli. I could even quickly just take this off, throw Acuity on here. I lower my damage by a ton, firstly, when I remove my multi-shot on this. Because it has innate 2 multi-shot, which allows you to kind of build into it really well. Nautilus picks up, dude. We throw, we aim. On any other frame, this weapon can't crit. And I'm hitting oranges. Acuity's kind of really, really good because it's not modifying my lowered crit chance. It's modifying the base crit chance, which is really, really helpful. Like if I take off and where is he? I guess it doesn't really matter. We go here. We go to the Grakadas. You see, 25%, pretty respectable crit chance. Negative 9.2. And I'm hitting orange crits with Yareli. With Acuity. It's really good. Acuity's really good, and being able to utilize the Scourge is really good. Do I have a Scourge build? No. This is what I use for Scourge. Cryo rounds, Aptitude, Malignant Force, Misery, Rhyme rounds, Speed Trigger, Hellfire, Thermite, with Primary Merciless if I'm feeling a little spicy. I don't use this as a gun. Again, I have bound alternate fire, up. Move weapon, down. That's it. That's all I've done. Like, does the Scourge still deal damage? Of course it does. The Scourge will deal damage. It's actually not that bad of a gun. Again, it's got a decent range, about like 4 to 8 meters. It's not bad at all. But again, this is one of the 2 thrown spear guns that have a insane effect, being the bullet magnetize, including if you use any like CC or damage vulnerability, because then you just shred through enemies. All of my testing basically came from, I got so bored, I wanted something interesting, and I saw Scourge sitting at the bottom of my list, and I'm like, if I run it, like, what could possibly happen? And what I found was, if you have a gun platform frame and you really, really like your you're kind of okay with multi-shot, but you want to see something interesting and you want to see those big red tasty numbers, you use Acuity. You use Acuity. And truth be told, the mod itself isn't that strong because of the headshot classification, but just being able to, like, you're not going to have a primary weapon. That's like the only downside. Some primary weapons are just so good. But if you're so worried about like, oh, what about my like single shot rifle? Just use the Lex Prime. The Incarnon's really good. I mean, on increased base damage, shield breaks plus 80, minus recoil plus accuracy on headshot, stacking 4 times. I'm sorry, Yareli, why are you so close? And increased crit chance and crit base multiplier. What I run on this, I don't even have, this isn't even fully done. I don't have an arcane yet. Target Cracker, Pistol Gambit, I don't even have these fully maxed out. Pathogen, Deep Freeze for viral. Galvanized Shot, I'm using Pact here as a patchwork while I'm still formatting this thing. Primary Acuity. I'm gonna walk up here. I'm gonna summon all of these guys. Gonna jump over this, throw this. Switch, aim, 1.6, 2.9. With barely any armor stripping as well. And only some toxic, like viral and affliction procs. And that's including the fact that this has the Incarnon that builds off of it. The Latum's insane with it too. So consider, if you want to use secondaries and you want to be really, really funny and delete entire rooms with like punch through or anything like that, consider the Scourge. I would recommend though, the base color palette kind of blows. Pick a bright like energy color so that when you throw it, you can clearly see if an enemy is afflicted or not. But again, this isn't even including most of like the buffs you can do, most of the things you can do to set yourself up aren't even going to be present here because I don't know, there's so many different factors. Like this is a demolisher, like just chunking his HP. And granted that like the Lex Incarnon's kind of really slow, so you can do better. Like there's a ton of secondaries. I'm sorry, the Stug is gonna get an Incarnon. Take your time to pray to fucking, what's his name? Who's Haro? Who's Haro? Lynx? I don't know. Yeah, pray to him so he blesses your drops and give you the Scourge. This doesn't even change. If you can't get Scourge Prime, just get the Scourge itself. This bullet attractor field does not change. It just changes like the status and critical chance. You can take or leave that if you're just going to be using that like the attractor field. It does not change between the two versions. It is always 17. So yeah, enjoy the funny we have magnetized at home gun.